If you're a shitty marketer, you have to become a world-class salesperson. For 15 years of my career, because of the instruction I was getting, didn't pay attention to marketing at all, so I turned myself into the Michael Jordan of selling real estate. I could list 100 homes a year. I did that 10 years in a row. Did 200 deals a year twice, because I didn't understand this. But if you understand this, I can make $1 million a year being a world-class salesperson. I can make $10 million a year doing this. So you just gotta be all the way in, and you gotta see the value, and you gotta be willing to, because here's the other thing I'm noticing is that the barrier to entry is getting bigger. So it used to be you could just flip your camera on and talk, and that worked. That doesn't work anymore. You have to have captions. It has to be quality video, right? If you watch YouTube Shorts, it's got to get attention. You have to edit it proper. Like, the barrier to entry is getting harder. And I think it's only going to increase. Because this gentleman said it's the new TV. I believe that that's true. But will you watch a shitty show on TV that has shitty camera and shitty lighting, and somebody on there that's going,
"Hi, this is the 5 ways to do an inspection"?
You will not, right? So and you can get into this inexpensively. If you go onto Fiverr, you'll find people who can edit your videos. And yet, spend a little on a camera, and it's consistency over time. So it took me a year. I went from 2,000 followers to just close to 10,000 now. I went from touching 8,000 accounts to 250, $250,000. That is 4 football stadiums worth of people watching me every month. I can sell lots of things, right? So you just gotta really buy into it. The tools that you need. You don't really need more than your phone. iPhones are ridiculous, right? But you need a camera, you need some lighting, you need a microphone. Stop shooting videos without microphones. They cost $25 on Amazon. It's a little lapel mic, you stick it here, it'll make you sound like a rock star. If your video is crappy, people won't watch. Doesn't matter if your audio is crappy, they won't watch. So you need a little microphone, it costs $25. You already have the phone in your pocket. You need ideas. Now, the interesting part about ideas is people think they have to create all this stuff. You don't, you could just document what you're doing. It's documentation. The way I started this is when I was setting appointments, I would just flip the camera on and record it. That's it. I'm not doing, you do cool shit all the time. Nobody can see you do it, right? So flip the camera on, have the presence of mind. Oh, I can flip the camera on right now and just record this, right? And then I need someone to edit, chop, and post. If you're serious, if you want to go all the way in. Because there's some people in the room that still do it themselves. I'd say everybody in the room still does it themselves, except people that are all the way in, which is like 3 in the room of everybody else. But you start to think with your DIY mentality, because 65% of us came from parents that live paycheck to paycheck, I'm gonna figure out how to edit this myself. Good for you. And after 6 months and you post fucking very little, I'll be at like 20,000 and you'll be at like 300, right? So you don't need that much. Cumulatively, between this might cost $300 a month, somebody to send you ideas, roughly, that could probably be included, the microphone, and this. And then it's just consistency. It's volume over time. Most people don't produce 1% outcomes because they drastically underestimate the volume of activity that's required over an extended period of time. So if I told you could get all the attention that you want, which equals, but you had to post 4 times a day for the next 10 years, would you do it? Yes. Yeah, you guys say that shit. You can also, there's this thing called ChatGPT, where you could say, hey, act like a real estate agent, a top producing real estate agent in Plantation, Florida, and give me 10 videos that people would want to see. And it'll go, and then you could go, now act like Mr. Beast and give me the titles and the thumbnails for those videos. And it'll go, and you'd be like, act like a TV producer and give me the actual script for each one of those videos. And it'll go, guys, there's no excuse, none. It's just insecurity, fear, and I'm not all the way in. I don't understand its value, because the things that you make time for things that are important. Do you brush your teeth every day? Mm-hmm. Why? Because it's important. You ever like, nah, screw that brush teeth thing? Do you do that with this though? Yeah. And the real reason so you tell yourself this story that it's all these other things, when it really is you're just insecure about it. That's all it is, right? So here's with ChatGPT. I'm a residential realtor in city state with a YouTube channel. I create videos to educate people on buying and selling in blank. And I explain what it is to live in blank. Please write an 8-minute video outline for blank. It does it for you. And it'd be any easier, guys. Now this is $1 million right here, okay? All the ideas you need for a whole year. What's the cost of living in Plantation, Florida in 2023? Pros and cons of living in Plantation, Florida in 2023. X things you need to know before you move to Plantation, Florida in 2023. Guys, this is gold. If you haven't taken a picture of this shit, like, all you guys are like, I would watch that shit, yeah. Does $500,000 get you in Weston in 2023? Nothing. Yeah, a shack, like an outhouse. What does X amount give you in sub-community? But this is, bro, if you do this, these are all your videos. And by the way, you could just interchange the year and repeat, rinse and repeat next year. Do you see? You have everything you need. But now it's just a matter of this, you declaring that this is important. Now, I want to share with you a few things because I know that this is also something. Look, perfectionism is the fear, that says objection, it's wrong. Perfection is the fear of failure in disguise. Perfectionism is the fear of failure in disguise. You're just afraid of failing. And it's unfortunate that in our modern school systems, we still have this environment in which if you mess up, what happens? You get punished. That's fucking stupid because the way we learn is by messing up. When you learned how to walk, did you get slapped on the wrist because you fell down? Can you imagine? How many people have children? Can you imagine as they were walking, like the first time they stand up and fell down, you're like, God damn it, what's wrong with you, bro? Like, seriously, man? By the way, does that baby read the 10 ways how to walk? How do they learn? How many times do they fall down? Thousands. Takes like to a year for them to figure it out. Because how does it start? First they stand up, fall down, cry. Stand up, fall down, cry. That happens for months. Then they stand up, remember when they hold this and you're like, oh, they hold onto the table, then what happens? Fall on their face. Then they stand up and they're like, boom, fall down. And then one day they go, oh, and it's like, oh, they fall down. It takes a while. But perfectionism is the fear of failure in disguise. And the other thing you guys are deathly afraid of, which I know is true, is getting feedback from people. I'm going to read the comments. Actually, I'll pick somebody to read the comments. So this post got 76,000 views. Okay, I want you to understand something. That is 90% the Miami Dolphins stadium filled with people watching. Okay? Who wants to read the shitty comments? This is great. Let's pick some here. Yeah, I was going to have Natalie read, but you can read. You have a big voice. I need you to stand up and read. Okay. Just scroll down and read all the comments, okay? With this one right there. Loud and proud.
Okay. Hung up with all that extra talking too scripted. I'd have hung up before while I have you on the phone. While I have you on the phone, click. A motivated seller wouldn't be complaining about getting too many calls. I love when people say, I appreciate that. No, you don't. Mostly good, but as a high D, you talk too much. After the first sentence, you lost me. Jesus Christ, I would have hung up so fast. Best way to make money in real estate is to sell courses to real estate agents, which you responded, and to sell 2,000 homes in your
Because the person who wrote that is sitting in their mom's basement playing video games.
They would have hung up long ago. Great job. Solid, and I like it. If he actually removes people from the list as promised, if they tell him off. Otherwise, he's just another lying sales guy. I would have hung up 1,000,000 times. It's actually embarrassing how hard they try. This conversation ended the second I found out I didn't ask for the call.
Hate is inverted admiration. You know what they're really saying to me? I fucking wish I could do that. But you guys let it stop you. Why should I care what somebody in their basement thinks? Why? You know what I mean? Like, I find it so unbelievable that instead of reaching out to me and asking me questions, look, Jack Harlow has a verse in one of his songs. He's like, look, when everybody loves you, there's only one way to stand out, which is to throw stones. You understand? Like, you guys have to just get past this. You all have gifts and abilities that you're not sharing because you're afraid of somebody saying that your beard is fucking whack, or I don't like your shirt, or you know what you're talking about, or your hairline's too high, or like what. Who cares? In the Bible, it says if there's a lamp that's lit, you don't put it in a closet. Put it on a table so it can shine light to everybody. Stop putting your lamp in the closet because you're afraid of what people will say, okay? With that, I will open it up for a few questions, comments, concerns, if you guys have any, with regards to everything that we discussed today. Yes?
I'm one of those guys with like 800 followers on social media.
Yeah.
I'm not scared of the camera.
Yeah.
There's definitely maybe some insecurities about not getting likes and follows, and I
Yeah.
feel like without really good content.
Sure.
And getting like 60 likes.
Yeah.
And it's kind of bullshit. Being said, I really want to get into podcasts.
Yeah.
I started building out an area in my home to do this.
Good.
Full candor, I have a real estate license.
Yeah.
My bread and butter is mortgage.
Sure.
I own a mortgage company. I want to get started with a podcast, and the idea of starting a YouTube channel with nobody following it and getting 0 views and putting hours and hours into this podcast, I don't know where to start.
I appreciate your authenticity and your honesty because I know that, look, there's heads nodding, like your experience is true for everybody. Story's one, story's ball.
Right.
So I had 245 episodes I was 45 episodes deep with 250 subscribers. Just kept doing it. Now, I currently have almost 1,500 subscribers. I don't know if you know this either. Only like 20 million channels out of 150 million have more than 1,000 subscribers. You know podcasts, like something stupid, like 60% of them never get past the first episode? What I've learned is it's really about, if I go on there and I add value,
Right.
a lot, like tremendous amounts of value, then over time through consistency, it'll come, it'll grow. So like I could have easily stopped, and it hasn't been till recently, but the other thing I was doing, which was wrong, I didn't have anybody editing any of my stuff. So if you look at my thumbnails from a year ago, they were bad. Now they're good. I didn't have anybody editing with captions. I didn't understand.
In the US or offshore?
They're out of the country, but
They do good work.
they do awesome work. Yeah, if you're interested, just DM me. Like I'll give you access to the company. But let's say you're watching a YouTube. People's attention spans have been obliterated because of TikTok. So you have to edit the beginning of a YouTube like a TikTok. So I start off podcasts. I used to be like, hey guys, welcome back to the Aaron Novello podcast. When you do that, I watched on the analytics, 60% of the people fall off. They just disappear because it's boring. Instead, I just interviewed my personal trainer and I said, chicken. Something that is a staple in so many people's diets is actually really inflammatory to their system. That's something people are like, what? What do you mean? Chicken's bad for me. I eat that shit all the time.
So do I.
So, but you see how it captures your attention, and we edit it that way at the beginning. And if what I've realized is like, there's like a 10-foot wall to get past in 30 seconds. But if you can get them to watch for 30 seconds, they'll watch for 45 minutes. You just got to get past the, right? So there's all these different things to learn. So you clearly have the ambition and the passion. I think educating yourself. Again, I got proximity to somebody who's doing it at scale, who gets millions of views every month and has 6 businesses that do over $1 million a year. And social media is the main acquisition channel for him. So I can learn how to do it, but then I need a team. So if you have the equipment, I need a team. Then I need to just focus on adding like as much value as I can, and then understand the equation V over T. It's volume over time. So it's most people, you separate yourself from the pack just by willing to keep going. And then it's just a matter of time. So like I'm just now approaching 10,000, but 2 years ago it was 2,000. But I guarantee you a year from now it'll be like 30. And my future self will be pleased that I kept going. So that's what I would suggest.
We door knock our open houses
Good.
a lot of times, and we used to get flyers out on the door knock, and the back of the page was always blank, so we started adding what's going on in the neighborhood,
Yeah.
like micro marketing the neighborhood, what's happening with market status, or what's happening with the park, and invites to what's going on. And they would keep our flyers, and they would come to the open house with our flyers, so we get a lot less people throwing them.
Well, yeah, and here's what I would think, like I would hand them a flyer, but it has a QR code, and the QR code takes them to a video of the community. And write that shit down, bro. See why your boy makes the big bucks, baby. You see, it takes them to a QR code, and then they get to a landing page, and they can put in information for the updates, but on the landing page, it has 3 videos on it. One about a market update, the most recent market update. Another was like the benefits of living in this community, right? And what you're doing is you now become the expert in the community, hyper-local expert. Any other questions? I think you had a question too, yeah.
In reference to earlier, you were talking about the avatars. But what do you do if like the avatars a wide range of both male and female demographics? How do you make the content to succeed with both?
Yeah, so I think you can still get clear on some demographics as far as like age. We also, like Sonia, she noticed like the majority of people, she's Caribbean, and the majority of people that are moving to Port St. Lucie and buying new construction are Caribbean. Because they all are asking her about culturally what to do in the area. I'm like, well, they're telling you what content they want. So if you started to produce that content, they would watch, right? So I would just kind of continue to like who's doing the business. And then even if it's like they're grouped together, I can still think to myself like what are they motivated by? What are they interested in? You know what I mean? I can still start to segment out even as a group if I didn't want to niche it down to gender. Does that make sense? And I think too that if you really get into your, you really get into the analytics, you will see that one emerges more than the other. It's usually not 50-50. That's my experience. Yeah. Yes?
Hi, good morning. My name is Valerie Denal.
Good morning, Valerie.
So I don't have a problem doing videos and saying whatever needs to be said. My issue is I can't even it takes me a half hour to figure out how to post something on Instagram.
Okay.
I get frustrated.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, okay, I'll do it tonight when I'm sitting on the couch for 5 minutes.
Yeah, so my suggestion would be is the solution. Remember how I said about being all the way in? Most people don't want to spend money to have somebody help them.
Yeah, but who's that person?
Okay,
who's
there's
that?
two sources. One is you can go to a site called Fiverr.
Yeah, okay.
Go ahead, tell me what your concern is about that.
Fiverr?
Fiverr.
I think she's asking like who to choose.
No, I'm saying I don't know how to even do it.
Yeah, I get it. So if you go to Fiverr and just type in video editor, and then
Video editor.
yeah, video editor. That's what you want.
Okay.
And then it'll pop up. You'll have choices, and you pick one. And then they'll edit videos like on a per video
Right, but
basis.
then I have to take the video, and that's a part.
So what you'd have to do is you'd shoot the video and then drop it into like a Dropbox file. So here's what's happening. You're gonna have to learn some stuff. So I think there's only a few things you need to learn. Like one, if you go to TikTok to be like how to turn my YouTube camera into a professional camera, all these videos show up. And there's different settings that you can put on the camera that'll make you turn into HD, right? So that's one.
TikTok, how?
Two, turn my iPhone, because you have an iPhone, into like a professional camera, right? Then go on Amazon.
And buy a
Lapel mic is $25.
I already-
Then, after you shoot the video, figure out, watch Google again, or put a TikTok in again as a search engine, and say, how do I convert a video on my iPhone and put it into Dropbox? Most people aren't willing to learn new shit because they're afraid of failing. But that's the part of the barrier to entry to this. Literally, I had to call my sister 2 years ago and be like, what's a reel? Like, what's this thing? I felt like a grandpa. Like, how do I use this fucking app? What I'm aware of is business is an infinite game. It's ongoing. So business will be here long after we're gone, and it was here way before we're here. If I want to keep playing at a high level, I have to adapt. So there's three types of intelligence that I think are important. Intellectual intelligence, your ability to learn things quickly. Emotional intelligence, your ability to connect with people emotionally. And your AQ, do you know what AQ stands for? Adaptability quotient. Okay, so Darwin said, it's not the fastest, not the quickest, not the strongest that survive. It's the ones that are the most receptive to change. We're living in a time where things are changing very fast, very quick. A lot of people feel like you, like it's super overwhelming. But what's true is if I don't take the time to learn it, here's what's true. If I spend 100 hours on something, I will know more than 95% of the population. It's 100 hours. You guys spend 100 hours on Netflix in like a month. It's just taking the time to learn. And will it change? Yes. But if I'm committed to playing at a high level, then I will adapt with the change.
We only need 12% to make this company go. You guys know we revenue shared $202 million last year. Does everybody know that number? $202 million. It's not really far out to think that we're going to revenue share in the next 4 years $1 billion. Probably more. Only 12% of our agents are involved in that. Why? I know the 80-20 rule, the 90-10 rule. For some reason, you have to learn another skill in order to recruit people. I sold homes. I sold 120 homes a year, 3 years in a row. I was top 20 in the state for Remax.
Blah, 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 who cares?
When you recruit agents, it's totally different. I've been doing it since 1989. You guys are weird. Every single one of you are different. Every single one of you have different needs. So what I want to just share with you is the opportunity is now. How many people do you talk to and they go, hey, is it time? You know, you guys got in early. You know, you did it, you know. You know the CLCA? 8 years ago when I did this and I sold 6 offices in the region to come here, they called me crazy. Literally the first 20 agents I talked to were all my best friends in real estate. They all turned me down. You are crazy. That company has 400 agents. You were at Keller Williams for 21 years. What the heck are you doing? So in all your markets, when you first start, they're going to call you crazy. And a couple of years later, it started to work. They called me lucky. then literally 7 or 8 years later, when I'm making more in rev share than the top 66 people combined at Keller Williams in profit share, just so you know, that's real combined. They call me a crook. Because there's no way you can make that much money, right? CLCC. Now the A part is, now they're calling me for advice. If you're starting in a new market, you're going to go through those phases, every single one of you. So there's so many markets we're not in. There's so many people that literally don't know about us. That we just got somebody 6 months ago in Austin, Texas, where Elizabeth Riley and I started this thing. And he had never heard about EXP. And we have 9,000, 10,000 agents in Texas. He goes, no, I don't even know what you guys are, I've never seen your sign. Because agents put their blinders on. So I want you guys to know this is your time, 23, 24, and 25, because of the Boost program that I'll let you talk about, and things, the Boost program, I'll let you talk about that. It's going to be monumental.
Game changer.
I'm the only person, AJ, that was ready for a down market. I was praying for a down market because too many brokers I talked to were doing too well. And now it's time, so we're gonna be blessed to help them.
Yeah, I won't share much. You guys have all seen me cry. Do that. I feel like I've hustled quite a bit in this industry. Sold a lot of houses, helped a lot of agents, and there's just nothing. I've never had more fun than the last 3 years, and there's nothing more leveraged that we could possibly do with our time than focus on bringing agents over. And when you first get started, if you're newer to it, you're like, man, I hope this thing is good. I'm like calling all my friends, and let's all do this together. And it'll take time. Some people will just come over, and some people, we've got a big player coming over this week that he was like one of the first people I reached out to. So it took him every bit of 2 years and 10 months to wrap his head around this thing. And what made it happen was that his top agent does like 30 million of his 100 million, said that she was leaving and joining an EXP brokerage. And he's like, we're moving to EXP. They called me and it's like, we're moving. I'm like, okay, well that helps. But there's just nothing cooler that I've ever done in my professional life than this, and just to build it with all of you, and now to switch toward helping all of you. The base is there for me, and now it's like who else can we bring in, and not even in my group necessarily. If any of you need help at any point in your journey, bringing someone in and a different perspective from the hardest no that you will ever know around EXP was me, and now I'm totally solved all conversion over here. So if you guys need anything, we're all here for you. And I said it the other night on Monday, but some of you will go through some stuff, even personally, and it's not all up and to the right, in every area of your life. So as you guys hit those bumps and you get down, and just reach out to somebody, make the connections at these events, and on a personal level, just know that we're fighting for each other in all the areas of life that matter.
So you guys might not realize that 5 years ago, like the first Build event, if it wasn't called Build, but it was the first event that Brent actually did for EXP as a recruiting event, and it was about this size in Scottsdale, Arizona, and pretty much maybe a little bit more than this.
That's awesome.
I mean, it was, we didn't even have microphones. And I was talking to Aaron last night, and I think you maybe had an epiphany, and I had an epiphany at the same time. It was a moment we shared.
Yeah.
But you were like, so this is basically just like Brent's event. It's not EXP, or this is like the events that we're doing.
It's like a lunch and learn at scale.
Exactly. And you're like, I can do this.
I can do that.
Like, how many agents were at your last event?
50.
Yeah. Like, that's how this starts. Like, the first lunch and learns we started doing in Charlotte had like 5 people. And then we were doing 8 a week with like 15 to 20 at each one.
Yeah, so my name is Novello. I'm from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I have 142 agents, 24 frontline qualifying agents. I've been with the company for 13 months.
Wow. And just to put that in perspective, I was right around the same size he is right now, a year in. So, you hear, well, I'm too late, or you got in early. He's right on track where I was 6 years ago. Yeah. So congratulations, man. What's been your biggest rev share month so far?
15,000.
15,000. That's awesome. Stacy.
Stacy Peterson. I'm from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. My org size is 600. My FLQAs are 24, 2.5 years. 42,000.
I've been in 6 years. Kathy Burns from North Carolina. I've got 8 qualifiers, 182, 7 levels deep. My biggest check's been a little over 9,000, but it won't be that way for long.
That's right. And when you're on stage, you forget to say some things. I know we both forgot to say some things, but one of the things I wanted to say on the stage was when I shared that hole analogy, I wanted to follow it up with, like, when you're digging your hole, it doesn't matter how deep your hole gets, how wide, how big. It doesn't matter what someone else's hole, like how big their hole is. Like, don't compare it. It doesn't matter. What matters is the hole you're digging. Does it lead to water that satisfies your soul, passions, and desires? You know, it's not about what others have. It's about, like, what is your dream? And we get lost too much in Lars shared, don't compare your insides to others' outsides.
Oh, man.
That's
My
really
biggest
important.
rev share check was last month, $18,500.
That's huge. And you just broke number
started.
25 on the Game Changers ranking report yesterday. Congrats. Jose. Jose still here?
Yeah, I'm here. I have 186, 17 FLAs, and then 10 FLQAs. And the best thing that I did was bring Aaron on.
I told him he's gonna have a little picture of me in his house, and every time he walks by, he'll be like,
And I believe it, and I'm okay with it.
And this is the thing, guys. You're one agent away from your life changing. You might have to sit there and chip away for a long time to find that one, or you might find them right away. It doesn't matter, but one leg can grow you deep. It's a really beautiful thing.
Yes.
And what's your biggest month?
Yeah.
That's 13,700.
Wow.
But I agree with you on it. All it takes is one person.
Yeah.
Changes the right leader changes the entire org.
And you want to kiss him now?
Sometimes you gotta go through a lot of dirt to find the gold. Will and Veronica.
Go ahead, baby.
Will and Veronica with Boston, Massachusetts. We have 64 agents, 19 FLAs, and 14 FLQAs. Our biggest month was 7,200.
Nice. Is there anyone that I missed that has over 50 in their organization? Caggiano, you're on my list.
Yeah, I'm getting my voice back. My son gave me his cold. So, it's up 150 in the organization, 26 FLAs, and about 17 FLQAs right now.
Biggest rep share check?
I had 170 at one time last year, so at that time I had 22,000 as a rep share check. And I do have a picture of Lars and Stacy in their dining room that I kiss every day. My wife doesn't mind if Stacy's on there at all.
I just want to say, acknowledge Robert and Aurora. You know, their group size is like 10 right now, but watching Robert work this event with one of the recruits he had here, Tom, who committed to joining independent brokerage of 12. Where's Tom at? So he committed joining. But like when you get to these events, you got to work them. Like Robert is like, you've been in front of everyone, Tom. Like, I'm like, why are you even coming to meet with me today? You've already seen everybody. Like that's what you got to do. And I love when people are at the beginning because it's just special being there and seeing like how diligent you are to the opportunity. You just got to show up. You got to put in the work. As you've seen, there's so many people that want to help you.
Real quick, and I'm a numbers guy, so I'm going to focus on some of the numbers. You know, when you know others are making like more than you are, but 10,000 a month in this model is like having $2.4 million in the bank.
Yes.
So if you don't have $2.4 million in the bank, I promise you getting to a 10,000 revenue share monthly consistently is 1,000 times easier.
Yes.
You know, so as you're sort of like, I could hear it in Debbie's voice in particular, you know, a little bit like I wish it was more. It's like having $2 million in the bank. And I don't know if you have a separate $2 million, but 8,500 is literally an asset worth $2 million. And it's like, when you think of it like that, it's like, holy cow. You know, so, I mean, it comes in like $1,000 increments, but whatever the math is on every 1,000 is like a couple $100,000 of a net worth equivalent. So just from the numbers perspective, that's what really got me over the hump, like, holy cow. You know, the residual leverage side of this it's unlike anything you could possibly do. Yeah. How many rental properties would you need to generate $8,500 a month? Like maybe 40, you know? So it's wild.
So we got two more people that I want to share, and then we'll wrap it up and get to the conference. There's probably lots of coffee left, so if you guys want to take some to go, that'd be awesome. Lars, share your numbers.
Oh, my numbers. Talk too much. I had a moment the other day. It was with Chris where I had literally run out of words in the middle of a conversation because I'm not really extroverted. I don't know if you remember the moment. You said something, I had no words.
I bailed you out.
Yeah, you did. And then I recovered and it was okay. So for me, what is it? It's like 1550 in the organization. I think I've brought in 50. It's at like 39 now. So I've had some folks leave. 31 FLQAs. So the 30 that does help me a little bit. What's that?
Level 7.
Level 7 is 25. 25 agents on level 7. My biggest check, I think I'm going to be getting my biggest check in about a week, but my biggest was $101,000.
In the bank for that.
I track it on my tracker, so I do a 3-month rolling average of, and it's like 22, $24 million. And I don't have that much money on the other side. So it's magic.
And I'll share, I have 72 FLAs, 6,540, I think, right now. And,
Might be more in the next 30 minutes.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to check. Biggest rep share check was 237,000, which is pretty good. I think I had 300 this summer. What's crazy, whoever made the comment, like back when like 100 was like the big number, like wow, they got 100 agents. I remember being in a very small room, like 100 people, this is Port of Vallarta, 2017, 2018, and Rob Flick, who's here, has over 19,000 agents now. He's at the conference. Started the conference out at like 97,000 in pending rev share, and we were all blown away. I had like 60 agents at the time, and he's like, we're gonna refresh it at the end of the day and see how much it was. Wow. And he broke 103 for the first time. Wow. And now he has 19,000 agents, so you can imagine what he's earning.
Weekly.
Yeah, that's like weekly. Yeah, like twice a week.
Yeah.
I remember when AJ shared with John and I, it was at the Brendan Burchard Mastermind in Miami, I think, on the boat. And he's like, he was wanting to have a conversation about EXP. I don't even know what it was. But he's like, I just hit 200 in my, and John and I were like, I was just sharing good news with a friend. Yeah, we were like, I don't know what he's talking about. Let's just go get another drink. But like, that was 200 agents. And I remember you hit 2,000. I forget what the exact time frame was, but it was a 10x in a few short years. Yeah. Like, so this is the kind of thing that getting to 20 is hard, because that's all your rejection and you're going through everyone you know. Then it just grows easier over time. You know, so it's like a log, sort of. I don't know if you're into Bitcoin, but look at everything on a log scale, and it's like a log sort of growth. So it's just
it's the best opportunity we'll probably ever have in our lives, guys. Yeah. So take advantage of it. Don't be the person 3 to 5 years from now looking around at everyone else here like, I wish I would just show up and do the work. You know, and you're just still grinding away, you know, doing all the things you don't want to be doing, missing out on all the things you want to be doing. So thank you guys so much for coming. Really appreciate everyone here. Give everyone a round of applause.
Let's say we decided, because we're close to the beach, we're like, hey, let's take this affair to the beach. Now that's a very specific environment. And as such, it requires a very specific strategy. So what would be our strategy to ensure that we enjoy our time at the beach? What would we need to bring with us? Umbrella? What else? Towels? Swim trunks, don't want to be naked. What else? Sunscreen, it's very important. What else? Food, what else? Beer. Now, anybody besides me ever forget a critical component of that strategy when you went to the beach? Now let's say we decided to shift environments. And we said, hey, this beach thing is cool. Now I want to go skiing. And I'm like, hey guys, I'm going to put you all on a plane. We're going to take this to a ski lodge. That is a very different environment that requires a very different strategy and set of tools. So what would our strategy be for that environment? Overalls, what else? Snow boots. Snow boots, what else? Snowboard? What would happen if we tried to use the strategy for the beach for skiing? What would your experience be like? Not enjoyable, right? Now here's what I see happening. I see agents utilizing a strategy or strategies that they were using 2 years ago in a completely different environment for this environment and wondering why they're not getting the same results. Well, I first started selling real estate in 2006. Now that was a very specific economic and therefore real estate environment. Who here was selling real estate at that time? Oh, good. A good number of people. It was great. Why? Because they had a loan product that said, hey, you could basically say, I make $150,000 and they were like, I believe you. Right? That's unbelievable. And Prices were going up 20, 30%. Everybody had FOMO, fear of missing out. They're taking out equity lines to buy other properties because they think it always, right? Okay. So I started selling real estate in 2006 after graduating from the University of Florida. And at that time in college, what the marketplace was giving me was condo conversions. Anybody remember condo conversions? What they would do is buy a 50-year-old pig, put some lipstick on it, and sell the units, right? To the parents and saying, hey, this is an investment. When your kids graduate, it'll be worth something, right? So I sold a lot of those. And then 2008 happened. What caused it to change was a financial collapse. We had huge, large financial institutions disappearing off the planet. In my state, 50% of everything on the market was a short sale or foreclosure. In my county, there were 22,000 properties on the market for sale. Prices going down in the opposite direction, 20, 30% per year. And I didn't know how I needed to change my strategy because I'd been using this other strategy at 26 years old, make 150,000 bucks thinking I'm the man. And then that strategy disappears and it's no longer applicable. So what I did is I got access to a guide. Call that person a mentor, a coach, who could point me in the direction of where the opportunities were. Because you see, at that time, something exploded in the market. What explodes when there's 22,000 properties on the market for sale? Expired listings. They were at the highest they've ever been in history. I grew my business by 25% year over year. And after 4 years was doing 100 transactions and 75 were expireds. I changed my what? Strategy. Does that make sense to you guys? And I believe that everybody here with the right strategy and knowing where to look can continue to, you could dominate any marketplace, including this one, which has changed radically. Has anybody noticed that the environment's changed radically? In preparation for coming, me and Joe were talking about it, I looked at numbers for the county where you guys do business. 2021, this last month that we just passed, there were 7,500 transactions. This year in 2024, there's 4,500. It's gone down 58%. I see a lot of heads nodding. That is an accurate assessment of reality. Huh? We're going to go over what's happening briefly, why it's happening, right? Approximately how long that's going to persist for. Anybody notice that like 5 months ago, everybody started posting that rates were going to come down 5 or 6 times in 2024? Hey, let me ask you a question. Have they? Not once. Okay? That's agents hoping that it gets a lot easier to do business. Right? So what's happening? Why is it happening? And then more importantly, what strategies are actually working? Is this making sense? So that way everybody can continue, because you guys are all top producers, you can continue to get your unfair share because it's not the fastest, according to Darwin, or the quickest, or the smartest, or the prettiest, or the one with the most followers. It's the ones that are the most adaptive to what? Change. Does that make sense? All right, cool. Who's up for this AI? I'm sorry, I didn't fly from Fort Lauderdale for that level of energy. Who's up for this AI? Okay, so what's happening? Well, who knows what percentage of homeowners have an interest rate less than 6%? 90%. We will shop for 3 hours to save $100 on Amazon. Why are we hallucinating that somebody's going to trade their 3% for 7%? Why would they do that? Only for a very specific reason. What I would call a life event. Who wants to give me examples of life events? Divorce. Divorce? What else? Death. What else? Retirement. Job relocations. Moving to assisted living facilities. Moving to be closer to family. Downsizing, right? So remember how I shared with you how I did all those expireds? What happened in 2011? Marketplace got good. What happens to expireds? Do you think I just very maturely said, oh, I need to pivot and change? You think that's what I did? No, what do you guys do when you don't get what you want? You throw a temper tantrum just like children do. This isn't fair. Why should I have to change? But then I pivoted to probates. I live in heaven's waiting room, team. I have the largest elderly population in the country. And you know what that did? I went from 100 deals to 200 deals. All because I was willing to, you could just answer this yourself. Doesn't have to be out loud. We're all friends here. What percentage of what you're doing have you changed in the last 18 to 24 months? Be honest. Ah, interesting. Is it mature to imagine that I cannot change and still get my unfair share? No. Essentially, I'm waiting. I'm praying to the real estate gods. Please change. Make sense? So that's actually what's happening. What's also happening is that volume, we went from 6 million across the country to 4 million transactions. In this geographic area, from 17,000, we just looked at numbers, to 10,000. Now, the question is, how long do we imagine that's going to persist? Anybody notice that economists like rarely know what the hell they're talking about on a regular basis, right? Well, the last time we had interest rates this high, the Fed funds rate, do you know how long it stayed that high? A decade. Let me ask you a question. Are you prepared for it to stay for a decade? Is your strategy appropriate to staying with this number of transactions for the next decade? No, I appreciate your honesty, right? Because I can't change it if I'm not like aware of it. So that's what's happening, right? Now the question is how do I deal with it? Because I have two choices. You know what the first choice is? Stick my head in the sand. How many people know somebody sticking their head in the sand? Yeah, right? But they're still posting on Instagram. Hashtag blessed. Right? Which is ridiculous. I can stick my head in the sand or I can deal with it. You need an accurate assessment of reality in order to produce a good outcome. We just cast that, didn't we? Everybody clear on what's true? And your ability to deal with it is directly correlated with getting what you want. Who wants more deals? Yeah. I love it when people say, why'd you get into real estate? I love people. I'm like, that's disgusting. You haven't dealt with enough people. I love houses. I'm like, you know how many times I had to burn my suit because it was like a cat farm? We do this, we help people, but it's also to make money, right? So what's actually working? Well, let's logically think about this. How many people have noticed that there's less opportunities for listings? So what can we logically conclude about that? Every listing appointment you go on, you will more likely than not be what? Competing, right? So what would be a way to deal with that? Logically. Go on more points. What else? Ah. Let me ask a candid question. How many people here practice their listing presentation daily? Everybody here is apparently independently wealthy. Now, here's my question. Is that a realistic expectation in an environment with a lot less transactions? You think what's going to get it is you walk in, you're like, oh my God, you have a puppy, I have a puppy. Yay. You should hire me. That's ridiculous, right? That doesn't make any sense. So what's working are agents that are going on lots of appointments on a regular basis. Even though he's a top agent, you know what he does all the time? What do you think? Practices all the time. Do you think it's a fair competition when you go up against somebody who practices daily? No, it's not. Does that make sense? So that's one thing that's actually working right now.
What I would say as well too, just to add on that, and when I got started in the business, I struggled quite a bit. I went 6 months without a sale. I was a buyer's agent at first, and when I made the transition to the listing side, I kept getting beat out by Jim Sandoval, Eric Delgado, like every single one of them would always take the listing, and I wasn't. But then Aaron asked me like a key question just to kind of go on the skills. And what he asked me is like, hey, Jose Luis, what's your competitive advantage? He said like, what makes you different in the marketplace? And I proceeded to say something like, oh, I'm honest. I'm like hardworking.
I put my clients first.
I put my clients first, things like that. And he said, Jose, that's what everybody does. Everybody's honest or supposed to be honest. Everybody's hardworking. Everybody is a good human being. He's like, if you're going to compete, you got to have a competitive advantage. And I listened to this podcast called Founders. And in that podcast, they kind of give like the story of like different founders that have founded different companies like Jeff Bezos, Uber, just like different stories. And they go into like Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett strategy. Do you know what's one of the things that Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger look when they're investing in businesses? They look for businesses that have a moat around their business or some sort of competitive advantage.
That's difficult to breach.
That's difficult to breach. So I asked Aaron, I said, what's your competitive advantage? And he proceeded to tell me, he's like, I am the most skilled agent in my marketplace. People know when they're competing against me on a listing presentation, that if I'm going on that appointment, they better bring their A game. And 95% of the time, I am going to win. He's like, I want to be feared where when people find out that they're going on a listing appointment against me, that they almost like psych themselves out,
Correct.
like almost like, oh my God, like
I might as well not even go.
I'm going against Aaron.
Right.
And what I incorporated, and this is right next to you guys, I'm like literally like next door neighbors to every single one of you. I said, okay, that's actually a pretty good competitive advantage. I said, if I'm going to have a competitive advantage that's going to last, I said, what do I want it to be? So I adopted that mindset thanks to Aaron, where I said, all right, I am going to be the most skilled agent in my marketplace, knowing that when I go on a listing appointment and other agents find out that I'm going on a listing appointment, they're going to second guess whether they're going to want to go on that listing appointment. So one of the things that I did is not only did I become very skilled, but I said, okay, how am I going to differentiate myself from other agents? So what I came up with was I came up with a solution-oriented approach. Meaning if I'm going on a listing appointment, I find out what the problem is and what they need help with, and then I sell based on that problem. So it's not like, okay, what do I offer to you? It's like, okay, tell me a little bit about what you're going through. I identify the problem, and then it's so easy to sell based on the problem. So like somebody's like, oh, like I'm having trouble getting my property ready for sale. Oh, I actually know great contractors that can help you get that property ready for sale. Someone's like, oh, I'm struggling, basically boxing up items. Hey, what if I told you I could send somebody to help you box items? Somebody has a vacant property. I'm like, hey, what if I told you that I can stage the property for free? So I came up with a differentiation strategy where I came up with a solution to almost every single problem that exists. I challenge you guys to think about, okay, what is my competitive advantage here in the marketplace? Like what makes me different? And what's my value proposition to the consumers? That way, when I'm going on appointments, what's my competitive advantage?
So in an environment where there's less opportunities, one of the ways to deal with that is to become exceptionally more skilled. And that's one thing we could be working on, because when I asked how many people do that on a regular basis, there were no hands, okay? The second thing is this niche thing. So when I said that to you guys, everybody gave me the answers of the niches. Can I ask you guys a question? How many people have intentionally and purposefully tried to cultivate one of those niches? Death, divorce, job relocation, moving to assisted living facilities, like purposefully and intentionally. Yeah, one.
Maybe.
Guys, and the two people making the most money. Like, guys, like what I'm aware of, do you see? You can all tell me that these are the places I should be looking, but we're not actually doing anything about it, right? When I started probate, you know how much I knew about that? 0. And I went to the courthouse 6 or 7 times to figure it out. And it was a pain. And I was like, oh, I could be doing other things. But then once I figured it out, I started to call them and drop the amount of people I was calling for expires, because that source was dwindling. And within 3 months, I'm taking 4 listings a month. All because I had a willingness to change, right? So that's the second thing that's working, that is niches. And I know Jose, and that's one of the things he's going to talk about is, you know, we are trained, because I think the loudest voices in the training community, and perhaps, and I mean this lovingly, older voices, are saying things like they're saying things like expireds, for sale by owners, cancels, just listed, just sold. The 4 horsemen, okay? But what that causes you to do is to think like a real estate agent. Do you know why these guys get so many leads? They don't think like a real estate agent. They think like a wholesaler or an investor. And if you want to see lists, those guys call 15 or 20 lists. They call Liz Pendis. They call people that are behind, that they have liens for 90 days. They call, and we'll go over that. But do you see my point? Is that if I got to go where the opportunities are, and in an environment like the one that we're in with less transactions, where the opportunities are the ones that are extremely motivated. Somebody says to you, I want to sell my house because I want to get more room for my dog's backyard. That's not going to cut it, team. Welcome back, Novello Nation, to another episode of the Aaron Novello podcast. We have with us the real estate millionaire maker, right? Somebody who's done 400 units in the last 12 months on his team, over 1,000 units in his brokerage, which he owns. And that's been over $1 billion in production, the one and only Mr. Rudy Cosimo. I really appreciate you taking the time to be with me here today.
Pleasure to be here, Aaron. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. And it's interesting because my team, they saw you on another podcast and they really loved your energy and kind of the way that you think, which is really outside of the box for most agents. So what's interesting is prior to kind of jumping on off camera, you said to me that, which I find so fascinating, is that all of that production that we just talked about, you shared with me, there's no outbound prospecting, no cold calling. And it was something that you call like reverse prospecting, where you get, the clients, whether it's buyers or sellers, to reach out to you. So I think what you have a gift for and what your superpower is thinking outside the box and specifically marketing. If you could, for a moment, briefly kind of share with us how you got into real estate and what that journey was like for you prior to, turning into the billion-dollar producer that you are.
Well, I was just like anybody, right? Couldn't get a job. So, well, actually, I read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. I was in college. I was supposed to teach graduate school. My major was mathematics, University of Wisconsin. I'm supposed to teach graduate school here in LA. My dream job was to work in NASA. But then I came across this book, Rich Dad Poor Dad. And in the book, Robert Kiyosaki said the number one skill in life, it's sales, right? How to influence, persuade people. So I was like, wow, nobody in my family, we never talk about business. We never talk about money. We never talk about sales, right? Those are all taboo. So when I read that book, I dropped out of school. I dropped out of my graduate school and basically get in sales. I was selling door to door, and one of my clients is a real estate brokerage. And he is the one that basically convinced me to get into real estate. Took him about 2 years. Finally got my real estate license in 2007. But the first time I got my license, Aaron, I realized that I just got married, get a brand new baby. I realized everything is on me. I have to do everything all by myself. So when I was in a hospital trying to be with my wife, right? My first baby born, I couldn't even be with them because I have to serve I remember the clients calling me just trying to open a Supra lockbox because the agents don't know how to open the lockbox, right? And the business stops. Like, I'm not against cold calling, prospecting, door knocking. The challenge is that when you stop, when you get sick, or when you are in hospital, like me, just trying to be with my baby, then the whole operation shut down, right? Because the business is me.
What I think is very interesting about that is, I shared with you that I think your superpower is like thinking outside of the box and kind of questioning things. And right from the jump, I mean, you were in graduate school studying to be some sort of, I imagine, engineer, and you had a dream job to be at NASA. So you had a lot of probably cultural pressure, familial pressure, to do that. And when you read that book, it struck you, and instantaneously you were like, okay, I gotta do something different. And I know that takes a tremendous amount of courage. So then you got into real estate, and you noticed very quickly that, like, wow, I'm selling time for money. And it's not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just that I don't have some time freedom, and I'd like to be able to spend time with family and things of that nature. So how did that lead to you start to kind of question or analyze like the training or the systems that usually are kind of, taught to agents, and cause you to say, like, you know what, like, I think that there's a different way to do this?
Yeah, so I did everything what my broker asked me to do, right? So they asked me to all this door knocking thousands of homes. So I did all that. And then I was looking for a different way. I came across the number one Remax agent back then in the world, Craig Proctor. So my logic is this. Find somebody. I think Tony Robbins says it's called modeling, right? Modeling means find somebody who have done it and just model their behavior. If you take the actions, then you're going to get the results. Whatever you want in life, somebody else have done it. Like there is no need to reinvent the wheels. So back then I was like, okay, who has successfully sell homes and still like have a normal life? So I just so that's when I hooked up with the number one agents in Remax.
So, and then I'm wondering though, like this idea of like as you started to do that, and I know for a lot of agents, some hesitation in doing that is that usually it requires expenditure of capital. You usually have to hire people, and what I see is that 65% of us, in America anyway, they live paycheck to paycheck. So because of that, it affects thinking, and they think they have to do everything themselves. And I'm aware that it requires out of the box thinking to be like, okay, well, if I spend some money here. And if I hire some people here, that'll create more time. So for you, was there any friction there where once you realized, like when you started to model people, you're like, wow, okay, they're spending money in advertising and spending money in marketing and maybe have hired some people. Was there hesitation to do that or zero hesitation where you're like, yep, that's what they're doing, I'm going to do it?
Yeah, I mean, well, I had no money. So I remember before I get into real estate, when I say sales, to be more transparent with you, I was selling stuff in a swap meet. I'm making my profit was $50 a week, right? But when I make that profit, $50 a week, I'm just selling like knickknacks, you know. So I'm making about $200 in profit a month. But what I do with that money, I invest in my personal education. Like for example, I use the money to buy Zig Ziglar CDs, Zig Ziglar, Brian Tracy, all those guys. This is maybe old time, but my point is you invest in yourself. So when I first get started, Aaron, I had no money, but the lack of money, I mean, more money is not going to solve your money problem. So more money is not going to solve your money problem. Let me make you a case point. Let's say you come across somebody who's struggling, lack of money, and suddenly I give you $1 million cash. Trust me, the reason they have no money, there's a problem. So if you put more money into that problem or into that business, then you just magnify the problems. So when I first get started, the concept of reverse prospecting, essentially what I did is this. Literally what I did, I'm hosting a cash flow games. So I have people come into my office. Remember, I have no customers, I have nothing, right? I just have a desire and the understanding of, instead of me chasing the customers, have the customers come to me. So I do that 3 times a week. So every week I have 60 people come to my office playing the cash flow game. At the end of the cash flow games, I ask a simple question. Hey, how many of you guys want to do this in real life? So usually out of every week, I pick up about 2-3 brand new clients. So if you do the math, in a very short period of time, I have an overflow of clients. I have more clients than I can serve. But remember, Aaron, this is back in 2007. I get my license. 2008, the whole economy crashed. Everybody in real estate quit the business. So what happened is that, think about it, I have way too many clients. Everybody else is quitting the business, so accidentally I partner up with the other agents. Hey, if we partner up together, I'll give you my clients and we split 50-50 at the close of escrow. So that's how my team kind of getting evolved. And then I have a short sale listing back in December 2007. My first listing is a short sale listing because nobody else want to take short sale back then. So I was I'm a new agent, I have nothing to do. I take a short sale listing. Most real estate agents, when they take a listing, the intent is to sell the listing. But if you've been in business for more than a couple of weeks, the listing, no matter what you do, if your pricing is right, it's sold. Right? So instead of trying to sell the listing, which I know the listing is already sold, it's a short sale, 800,000 home listed for 500,000. We have multiple offer first day. So so instead of focusing on trying to sell that listing, the focus is how can we leverage that one listing to generate more listings. So instantly, as a brand new agent with no money, with nothing, but it's just a concept and understanding on how to leverage one deal to generate more deals.
And I love that because I think that a lot of people, particularly nowadays, like this idea of team, and I don't even think most people really understand what that means. And they feel like they're compelled to do that. And I personally believe that like team building should come the way that you did it, which is organically, where you have so many leads that you actually need people to help you. And that's really the way that you did it. The other thing I wrote down, which I think is interesting, is that I think people imagine that like it takes money to make money, but it takes courage to make money. And the courage is whether it's knocking on doors, hosting a cash flow game. I have no idea who's going to show up, if they're going to think I'm stupid or dumb or like whatever. So it just took courage to do that. And it actually causes you to be more resourceful, right? To use the resources that you have. And then the other thing I wrote down, which is very interesting, is like figuring out a way to serve others. So you were like, all right, well, this cash flow thing has made a meaningful impact, like exposure to Kiyosaki's mental maps, whether it be Rich Dad, Poor Dad, or there's another one, The Cash Flow Quadrant, which is an awesome book to understand, and then The Game. And it's interesting that you said that, because I arranged cash flow games when I was in college with my kind of fraternity brothers or people around me, because I'm like, man, like this is so interesting to me, where you're serving a community and then it's like, oh, by the way, I also do this. So it's like give, then ask, which I think most people, they approach it like ask. And that's why they, have like friction, right? So now in terms of thinking outside the box, what I think is really interesting is that in your mind, you're thinking, I think most agents think like, okay, I took the listing, I'm going to sell it. You're thinking like, all right, well, how can I utilize that piece of data? Because I really do believe that it's data. It's how can I leverage this data to get more data and to get more clients, right? So in your mind, you're trying to multiply each one, not thinking like, okay, I got one and I'm good. It's like, no, how can I turn that one into 3 or 4 or 5? So can you talk about a little bit about the strategies and the thinking outside the box that you use to cause it to equal more than one?
Yeah, I think first, like you said, Aaron, it's the concept, right? It's the mind shift. Like if you just focusing on well, first we need to be honest with ourselves, because if you are honest, most real estate agents, Aaron, if you ask them, why are you doing that? The answer is, I'm doing it to please my clients. Well, you are doing it for the wrong motives, because you already know that listing is going to sell. So you are doing it just to please, just trying to prove, right? So first you need to be secure with your own identity. Like you don't need to prove, because if Aaron hired me to sell his house and I need to show him that I'm working, then the whole agenda is all twisted, right? So right now, so we need to be clear. The reason Aaron hired me, because I already have a database of over 60,000 buyers in my database that's looking to buy a house. So when Aaron hired me, I already have the buyers. I already have offers for his home. Instead of when Aaron go to my competitors, they're trying to get a CMA. They don't have a buyers. They're looking to advertise your home, looking for buyers for your home. So the paradigm is already changed. We already have the offers. That's why now these cash buyers, all these the technology are taking advantage of our industry, because our industry is so archaic, right? The reason the iBuyers business are booming is because they just go straight to the point. They're telling the consumers, you want to sell your home? I have an offer. The real estate agents is, you want to sell your home. I don't have a buyers. I don't have an offers. Hire me. I'm going to advertise your home looking for buyers. But the consumer is very smart. Like, why should I hire you just to advertise my home? As technology becoming more advanced, the moment I put my listings into the MLS, it gets automatically syndicated to over 15,000 websites.
That as time progresses, a solo agent won't be able to compete because their value proposition is becoming less valuable. So I wrote down a few things which I think are very interesting. Is that I wrote down the word intent. And what I wrote down is like, what a lot of agents do because of that mindset shift is they are performing, let's say, an open house or these things with the intention on trying to justify commission. And what you're doing it is with the intention on actually adding more value to yourself and your organization, because the value proposition is, not only can I take pictures and market the property effectively, and I have people in place to provide you with a good experience, our main value proposition is we actually have buyers and we can actually bring them. Where most agents, if you were to ask them, one of the common objections if you're prospecting is like, hey, do you have a buyer for my home, Rudy? And it's like, well, I appreciate you asking, and I'm not going to insult your intelligence, tell you I have a buyer in my back pocket, because if I did, or if any of the other agents did, we wouldn't be having this conversation. You'd already have an offer already. What's most important is that when you're speaking to an agent, they know exactly what to do to go out and find a buyer. So that's how you try to overcome that. But what you're doing is you're being like, they're like, hey, do you have a buyer? You're like, yeah. As a matter of fact, we have 60,000 buyers. And when I show up to the listing appointment, I'm actually going to bring offers. I'm curious, is that what you're looking for in an agent that you hire for the job?
Yeah, you are like right on the spot. So you don't need to create like fake value, create a real value, right? Because how do you make more money? Like, there's only 3 ways to grow and develop your real estate business. Number 1, you close more deals, increase the number of transactions. Number 2, you make more money on each transaction. But how do you make more money on each transaction? By adding value.
So I got a question for you guys. What is the best tool or vehicle to generate leads? How many people think it's proactive and aggressive outbound prospecting? Picking up the phone, knocking on doors. How many people? Show of hands. Okay, 2 of you. Everybody else is independently wealthy? Is that what we're doing? How many people think that it is marketing or media?